everyone, and welcome to Channeling Erik. I am Dillon, today's host, and we have the amazing Veronica Drake, and we are doing a really fun one today. We're talking to Whitney Houston, so I'm really excited. I don't know about you, Veronica, but she's
Oh,
amazing.
she's
Yeah,
all over me.
yeah, absolutely. Okay, so I'll just read a quick. I don't know if Whitney Houston honestly needs an introduction because I mean, come on, it's Whitney, but we'll give her a quick one. She was born, so she's an American singer, actress, film producer, model, philanthropist. She's referred to as the voice, one of the most awarded performers of all time. Like she is phenomenal. She was, this is the sad part. She was found in unconscious on February 11th, 2012, in at the Beverly Hilton, in a bathtub. So she appeared disheveled and erratic in the days before her death. And the coroner reported that Houston's death was caused by drowning, but also the effects of heart disease from cocaine use. The manner of death was listed as an accident. So we have questions, hopefully both about her life and maybe a couple about her passing. So if and if you haven't seen one of these before, we tend to co-channel together, so we'll both chime in, but I will be technically the host today. Okay, all right, let's begin. All right, what inspired you most deeply when creating music?
It would probably be easier to ask what didn't inspire me. I was born with music flowing through my blood. It really is true what they say about inheriting energy. I had no choice but to be musical. This was my calling. The fact that my mother did what she did while she carried me is all the evidence one needs to know that I was born with this flowing through my veins.
Yeah, she's showing me that music has been a strong theme of her soul, that she's come in several lifetimes to express herself as a singer, as a musician, as a performer, as an actress, that she likes to have an audience. Okay.
I have to say also, when I was in my kitchen pouring my coffee, getting ready, because I always have my coffee, she came to me and she was very all natural. Her hair was unkempt, I guess you would say, and she had no makeup on, and she had her hair, she put a bonnet over her hair, and she had a tank top on, and she stood there watching me, and she said, "Let's do this." And she kind of did that with her head. So
Yeah. Okay, let's do this. How did you really feel about fame and public image that came with your voice?
there were two sides to it. Of course, there was the adulation that I got from the crowd and the admiration, and I was always grateful to have a platform to share my gift with the world. But it also felt like nobody really saw me, the person. It was incredibly stressful to have to maintain this perception of a flawless human being. I had an image to live up to, and I didn't ever want to let anybody down.
she's telling me there's a dark side to fame.
Mm.
People put you on a pedestal, and sometimes you don't want to be there. I'm grateful for my platform. I'm grateful for my fans. I love my fans. But I also felt pressure to be perfect. And in feeling this pressure, I succumb to some darkness. Are there songs you wish had received more recognition for their personal meaning?
I didn't do my music, my songs for me. I did them for everyone, for the community. Each song holds a special place in my heart, and each song in its own right captures intimate moments in my life and will trigger intimate moments in others' lives. There will, of course, be songs that are more resonant with some than others. But the reality is, the words, the lyrics were medicine for my soul. There was something I got out of every song I did, and so do the listeners. Take a moment and listen to your favorite song of mine and feel what the message is that I am conveying to you in the moment.
I would ask also that you feel the emotion in my songs, for they are meant to evoke a state or a feeling within you. And I was aware of this. And I hope you will listen with different ears. Okay. What did singing mean to your soul? I think she might have already answered this, but
Singing was my church. Singing was my connection to the Almighty. It's where I prayed. It's where I laid out my confessions. It's where I honored my celebrations. It was all of that and more.
She shows me, as you were saying that, like a gospel choir, and she would, not that she was in one necessarily, but that she would really like resonate with the gospel music, actually.
Mm.
What would you like people to understand about your relationship with Bobby Brown?
She just puts her head back and she
She's
laughs.
like, I was waiting for it. Yeah.
And she says, why is it that anybody has to understand? Okay, what is it that they have to understand? And she's just kind of being sarcastic, but understanding that people are curious. And this, she says, goes back to the question of fame. If we were Whitney and Bob on the corner of Main Street, nobody would
Nobody would
care.
care. Yeah, she's saying the same thing. Nobody would care.
Like most relationships, she said, it was complicated. Why do you think Facebook put it as a status? Erik says.
Absolutely, Erik.
She says, obviously, it was filled with love, but it was also equally filled with struggle. People saw our battles front and center. But what they didn't understand is we were two very broken, fragile souls coming together, yearning for healing and connection. Our journey together consisted of many, many, many mistakes, some public, some private, much growth, some might say not enough, and a whole lot of pain.
She's saying that she said, don't worry, we've made up. Also, she says that I regret deeply the public nature of our struggle. I regret that we struggled in this way. And I wish it hadn't looked like this. But I can say to you that I've learned, that I've taken a hard look at this relationship, that we have come together to understand each other and to understand that we were both in pain and suffering. I hope that my relationship in some ways can serve as an example of what, yes, there was love, but there was also hurt. There was also an example of a woman who frankly should have left. I love him, but I can see differently now.
I also want to clarify that there was abuse. But I also want to stand up and be the woman that I've always been and admit that that went both ways.
Mm.
And abuse is something that I want to put a light on, that I want to be an example. I want to be somebody that can inspire from where I am to help other women and men who are in abusive situations. Because abuse, like the people that struggle with it, have many, many different faces.
What were the pressures behind your substance use that the public never saw?
I was never enough,
Mm.
I felt. There was an immense amount of anxiety, an immense amount of pressure. I struggled with my eating.
Mm.
I was, at the end of the day, no matter how many people were in my entourage, I was lonely. I never felt like I belonged, like I had a home. I felt like I was on an island, isolated. The substance use, abuse, helped me to numb the pain. And I can't even say the pain of fame, just the pain in my life.
It feels complicated when I look back, but simple at the same time. Loneliness in a room with 100 other people who want something from you is different than the loneliness of being alone. I think in some ways it's worse. It's hard for me to explain, but suddenly and quickly, everything was public. Everything was in the spotlight. My whole life was under the microscope. And people wanted things from me, and I didn't know how to handle it. And I felt a sadness in my heart and a longing to be understood as me.
I also want to emphasize for any up and coming artist, you don't have to play the game. You don't have to compromise. And it really is true. If that door closes, you must always know that there's a higher and greater purpose for that door closing. Don't compromise who you are or what you believe in to get any door opened.
Mm.
I made that mistake.
What were the most misunderstood aspects of your personal life?
People judged me by the power of my voice. And yes, I have one of the most powerful voices, and I realize that. But they didn't understand how truly vulnerable I was. I had fears, I had anxieties, and I had a deep, deep insecurity. I never felt loved for who I was. I became a commodity,
Mm.
something to be traded. And that added to my pain.
She's saying that she says that she suffered at the hands of many handlers. Ooh. Was there someone who truly understood you in this lifetime?
My mother was both my confidant, my supporter, and also my harshest critic. She gave me the gift, and she knew the struggles more than anyone. And she always told me, stretch higher, go further. It's never enough. I learned that from her. There were only a handful of people who really, really knew what was behind the spotlight. I didn't dare show that face. It was always smile on when the lights go up.
Yeah, she's telling me that she can count the people that understood her on one hand
Mhm.
in it for her whole life. What do you think about the music industry?
She chuckles and she says, I think what you're seeing right now in public
Mm.
is, in fact, the dirty truth about what goes on.
You know that image of like roaches? Sorry, when you shine the light on them, how they kind of like scatter really quickly. I don't know. I think this is must be what they do. So she shows me that like the light goes on and they all are beginning to scatter.
And this is going to be huge in the next 2 years, she
Mhm.
says.
More, more, more will be revealed.
Absolutely. And one thing that will always exist as long as there's music is hunger.
Mm.
The artist is hungry, and every morsel comes at a price. You have to determine what it is that you value and don't eat what won't taste good down the road.
This industry is a dark place, unfortunately. And I'm happy what is being exposed now, and I know there will be more. For it's time's up for all this. Frankly, it chewed me up and it spit me out. I don't blame the music industry for all my problems, but I will say the darkness of it contributed to my downfall.
I walked side by side with that darkness, literally and figuratively. I locked arms with that darkness. I did pinky swears, if you will, with that darkness. Always, always be careful because somebody will be lurking around the corner looking to make a profit off of you. And at some point, I don't know when it happened, I felt like I became a prostitute.
Yeah, she was showing me that too.
Yeah.
Whew. She was like, you want to go there? Okay.
Yeah. But she's very strong and
Yeah,
very stoic in her presentation of this. And
absolutely.
she wants it to be known that she's revealing things because she wants to help and she wants to be part of the freeing of this stigma, this stench.
Bondage.
Yep, that's blanketing the music industry.
Yeah. I think we're going to do two parts because this is going to be long. But we'll do a few more questions and then we'll do part two.
Okay.
Prior to your death, have you felt you were provided with more drugs than usual?
With fame comes yes men and women. No one denies you anything because money can get you everything. All I had to do was think I was having a feeling that wasn't conducive to feeling uplifted. And there was a plethora, a buffet, if you will, of pharmaceuticals to help me cope. I don't think the average person has that. Again, the dark side of fame.
Also, to be straight with you, I think sometimes at the end they wanted me drugged. I was easier to control until I wasn't. Not too drugged, not too messed up, but drugged enough. Yeah, that's what they wanted. And I fell into this hole and I couldn't get out. And I was screaming, let me out, screaming, let me out, screaming, hear me. But nobody honestly would listen. I'm telling you all this because I don't want anybody else to go through what I did. Fame has a price, and be careful. Because if they offer you something, there's another side to it. Know this going in and watch your back. And I hope these people go down, and I think they will.
I got confused as to what voices were in my head that were screaming and what I was actually saying out loud. Everything began to converge on me, and I began to question what was the truth. It was like walking through a house of mirrors. Everything became distorted in my life. I didn't know who I could trust. I didn't know who I could turn to. And yes, I pulled the curtain back. I saw what was behind the curtain. And there were people that didn't like that. I'm not saying I could have freed myself. I'm not saying I would have done anything about it. By this time, I was too indoctrinated. I was too internally, emotionally invested to what was coming my way. It was all about numbing my pain. And truth be told, in the end, my gift, my talent, my voice was suffering.
Would you would you like to shed some more light on your death?
My death was reported accurately. It was tragic. And I'm going to reveal something that there wasn't a lot of talk or any talk about. And it's not glamorous, and it doesn't fit the Whitney that you know. I choked on my own vomit. I didn't come to consciousness, and I slowly, literally immersed myself in my own vomit. And that was a terribly tragic, despicable way to die. But towards the end, I felt the same about the way I was living. Mm.
Perfect. Have, did you feel like you were going to die young? You're saying yes. Yes.
Yeah, I knew I wasn't long for this world. I didn't have an understanding to what scope or magnitude that my death would be so public.
She's telling me she regrets the way she died.
Mm. You get to a point in life when everybody's feeding you yes, yes, yes. You think you become invincible. And I'll just do one more. It'll just be one more and fill in the blank, one more. When in reality, my soul was fighting against what I knew was wrong. I didn't listen.
Okay, this will be the last question for part one. What would you say to your daughter, Bobby Christina, now?
I loved her deeply. She knows. We are forever soul sisters. We are family.
I would tell her also that I'm sorry, that I wasn't the mother she needed or wanted, that I became a broken mother and she deserved more. She knows I love her. She does know that. Okay, we will stop with part one. Thank you for, I'm sorry, I'm channeling still. Thank you for coming today, and we will join us for part two.